Nigerian Senate on Thursday organized what it calls Security Summit in 3 of the nation's 6 geological zones, including Southwest, North Central and Northwest. This comes as the federal government seeks to intensify its search for fresh solutions to mounting security challenges around the country in collaboration with sub-national units. Summit is being organized to assist in collating widespread ideas on how to refocus the anti-terror war. The immediacy and contingency of the situation seems to have been reinforced by the abduction on the same day of about 53 students from a Catholic secondary school in Niger State. For more on the ongoing zonal security summits and what needs to be addressed headlong, we're now being joined by Mike Ejiofor, a former Director of State Security Service, now known as Department of State Services. Good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Very good. So what are your expectations from the security summit being convened by the Senate? Are we actually going to get something tangible out of it, or it's just another mere talk shop without hitting the nail on the head?
Well, I don't think it's a mere talk shop. You recall that everybody is concerned with the recent developments of this mass kidnapping, which had earlier stopped. We had random cases of kidnap, but with this mass kidnapping, it's becoming very worrisome, and I think that's why the Senate convened that summit. You recall that Senator Ejiofor only a few days ago raised an alarm on the need and calling on the federal government to recruit more soldiers so that we have more boots on ground. So everybody is worried, and I expect that the Senate will come out with far-reaching decisions. It's not just sufficient to recruit soldiers or more men in the military. The most important thing is that we must approach this jointly, with the other foreign countries in collaboration, especially the United States of America, because of the alarm or because of the threat raised by the President of the United States. So everybody is worried, and I think they must come up with far-reaching decisions to tackle this issue of insecurity in our country.
Now, talking about, a resurgence of school kidnappings, what factors do you think is driving, this renewed wave, despite repeated promises, of tougher actions that we've heard in the past?
Yeah, I think so many reasons. One is that you recall that immediately after the threat of taking out the terrorists by the United States government, President Donald Trump precisely, there seemed to be an upsurge or increase in the series of attacks. And the attackers, in their ignorance, think the attack will be directed against Nigeria and not themselves. So they are, in other words, calling for that attack on Nigeria. But I think with collaboration with federal government, I think the attacks will be targeted, the bandits will be targeted and smoked out. Luckily enough for us, we have a high-power delegation led by the NSA to the United States to discuss issues. So that's why I said, in our last program, I talk of diplomatic channels, of resolving these issues. Instead of invasion or attack on it, there should be collaboration between the federal government and the United States government to ensure that this war is won on our side.
Very good, Mr. Ejiofor. But how proactive are our current security laws, you think? And even enforcement seems to be an issue here. I'd like your thoughts on that.
I didn't get you.
I'm talking about our security laws. How proactive are they in addressing clear and present dangers? And enforcement itself seems to be an issue. I'd like your thoughts on it.
Well, enforcement is not an issue. What I think is the issue is diligent prosecution, proper investigation. You can see what's been going on, with this involvement of the State Security Service. Some arrests are being made, the people are being charged, and there's diligent prosecution. Some of them even pleaded guilty. That will show you the level of the involvement and abundant evidence placed before them. So some of them plead guilty. So I think it's not the issue of enforcement now. We'll look at the issue of arrests, the issue of diligent investigation and diligent prosecution. With that, I think enforcement will be easier.
Following that question, Mr. Ejiofor, there have been Senate sessions whereby the military have been invited, maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, and they vented their frustrations at having been in a scenario whereby they've actually caught insurgencies and militants or what have you, only to be let off the hook barely weeks later. You know, that's really frustrating that someone you've just caught and they're out doing their, what they do know how to do best. So in that instance, is it a failure of the judicial system? That's why I'm talking about the enforcement here as well.
No. I don't think it's, that matters a great deal. Some of them, you recall, that were arrested. Some of them were conscripted. So when you look at the level of involvement during the investigation, some of them that can be rehabilitated will be rehabilitated. Some of them, debriefed and sent back into the society. But the problem is, I've not confirmed. There are a lot of speculation that some of them are sent back to the military. But I very much doubt it, and the military has come out to deny it. So I think what we should do, what we should be doing, proper screening, debriefing of it, to know some of them that were conscripted, some of them that are based on ideological basis, and some of them that are also bent on destabilizing this country. So during their investigation, their level of involvement will be taken, which will also enable them either send them back to society or face prosecution.
Now, Mr. Ejiofor, I'd like to go back to the issue of the school kidnappings. I'm wondering what can be done to strengthen collaboration between security forces and state governments to protect schools so that we do not have, a recurrence of such.
Yeah, after the 2014 incident of the Chibok girls, there was this issue of United Nations in collaboration with the federal government where you have a safe school. And I don't know, in our Nigerian way, I don't know what have come of that safe school initiative. Otherwise, the intention was to reinforce physical security in schools, get the security forces placed on ground. Like the last incident that happened in Kebbi State, I think there was sufficient intelligence, but I don't know what happened. There was a gap that the people left the school before this incident happened, which is quite unfortunate. And I believe that proper investigation should be conducted to know those who are culpable in that, so that it will serve as deterrent. Those people will be punished to serve as deterrent to others. Because this issue of mass kidnapping in schools is very, very discouraging. People go to school to acquire knowledge only for them to end up in the forest. It's quite unfortunate and disturbing.
Indeed, Mr. Ejiofor, still on the school scenario, looking at the amount of schools that we have in the north, especially those located on the outskirts of urban areas, they seem to be the ones being targeted mostly by these kidnappers, bandits, or terrorists, or whatever you choose to call them. But the scenario being created right now is that perhaps the security apparatus is a little bit overwhelmed. Realistically, can we, secure all the schools? There used to be a safe school initiative, if I remember correctly, but all that just fizzled out. So physically, do you think realistically we can protect all the schools, despite intelligence?
It's going to be difficult to cover all the schools, talking realistically. But we also need to involve the locals, especially the vigilantes, because the police is understaffed, the military is understaffed, but areas that are vulnerable, And we should not concentrate efforts in securing those areas, especially the fringes. They don't come to the cities to attack schools. So we should concentrate efforts in the fringes. And again, what are the local government councils doing? What is their involvement in? So it's not should be left for the security agencies alone, the local government, the vigilante, the communities, and the security forces should all be involved in this Safe School initiative.
Now, as we await, the news of the rescue of all those abducted children, I'm wondering how the government can discourage ransom payments, while still ensuring the safe rescue of the students.
Well, that's a difficult one to answer because the government has never admitted paying ransom, and the people are released. They are dressed in uniforms, to come to say no ransom was paid. It's only what somebody tells you that you believe. So no ransom, whether ransom is paid, ransom is not paid. The most important thing is that these people should be brought out safe, hale and hearty to rejoin their parents.
So how do we change the narrative of prevention rather than playing catch-up? Because that's always the scenario here, when you just hear of these kidnappings. So how do we prevent all of this from happening? I know you've just alluded to some of the challenges we've had, but realistically, what can we do to prevent the next kidnapping? Someone out there is probably planning at this moment.
Yeah, I think we need to reinforce security, physical security in some of the schools. You see, in Kebbi case, for instance, where the students were kidnapped, you can see the deplorable situation of those schools. It doesn't look like where people are inhabiting. So we need to reinforce the physical security, embark on security consciousness of the teachers. In fact, the vice principal of the school who resisted and was shot. So, but if the police or the army had been around, I think that would have been prevented. But I think, like I said, everybody is going to be involved. But the most important thing is that areas that are more vulnerable, physical security for the schools should be prepared with consciousness among the people to raise alarm when the issues come. Don't forget that some of these places witnessing these attacks hardly get communication in terms of mobile phones and all these areas. So they look at such areas where you have less communication to get in touch with the police. Those are the areas we normally call ungoverned spaces. But I think with joint efforts and all these efforts put in place, we should be able to reduce these incidents of mass kidnapping in schools.
Mr. Ejiofor, let me ask you, because you were head of your primary constituent when it comes to state service, and you deal with a lot of intelligence, as it were. So when it comes to credible intelligence, are we acting upon it optimally in terms of deploying forces to perhaps after, when you have incidents of crime, the security apparatus, are they being deployed to those areas to nip the situation in the bud, or, what's the scenario you think? Are we doing enough to act on credible intelligence?
You see, providing intelligence is one side of the story. Working on acting on it is another. Suppose you have credible intelligence and you don't have the means or wherewithal to enforce or work on that intelligence, it becomes useless. So there's no way. The SSS, for instance, suffers what other services are suffering. There's no way they can cover everywhere. But at least, to the best of my knowledge, they're providing the necessary intelligence, you see the issue of Niger State. The governor came out, is it Niger or Kebbi? The governor came out to say that there was this intelligence provided that was going to be an attack, but eventually it still took place. So we need collaborative effort between all the agencies to make sure that we prevent this instead of allowing it to happen.
Well, former Director of DSS, Mr. Mike Ejiofor, thank you so much for joining us on Newsday.